Hey everybody, Christian West here. I'm glad that you tuned in to What Would You Do? Welcome to the series of videos where Joe and I ask each other critical questions from the executive protection industry. If you like what you see, click here, like and subscribe. And if you have questions that you want us to answer or try to find a solution to, send them to us via email, text. You can find us on social media. I'm sure you have ideas, or you can post them here and we'll play along and take your question. So, welcome to What Would You Do? Season 2.
Here's another thing that I know has happened to everybody who's been in this industry for a long time. All right. You're about to get on a detail and you realize that you have no briefing and you don't know what to wear. It wasn't in the briefing. You don't know what to wear. What are you going to do?
Definitely happens all the time. When I say it definitely happens all the time, you're definitely not told what to wear all the time, right? And your detail leader should give some guidance, something like that. But let's say again, we're void of all of that. We just know the basics. We have no input on what to wear. A couple things I do, and this works most of the time, is look up the venues. I use Google Maps, so I look at the venues and I can see the user uploaded photos, and I try to find photos of at the time, like say at night, at that venue, so I can see how everyone's dressed. So sometimes you'd be surprised, but it's pretty straightforward most of the time. I know you go to a nightclub at night, what are people wearing, that sort of thing. And then with that same let's say idea, I look up the client and I try to look them up. And if I can find pictures of them, say out and about, I can see how they dress. And that gives me a good baseline to go off of. They might have some specific expectations of what they want us to wear. I've had clients show up and they're like, hey guys, wear the black suits. And they didn't tell us, and we didn't know that they wanted us to have that, bodyguard image. So they're like, wear the black suits. So that's another thing, is the client might have some expectations on how you look. Do they want you to look super low profile, high profile, let's say? Yep. So, on that baseline, I think is a safe bet. What do people wear there? Kind of blend in. What does your client typically dress like? Kind of match that. I had a client in DC going to the inauguration. He's a very, let's say, like, I don't know the right word, fancy dresser. Like, he's always got a pocket square. He's always, right? He's that kind of guy. And he pulls it off very well. He knows what he's doing, right? He actually has people helping him pick out his clothes, everything else. So that's a challenge.
Which is not uncommon either.
No, and so you got to look good. You can't show up with a wrinkled jacket and everything else. So it can be a challenge.
Yeah, and there's also, and I actually would love to hear your opinion about this. Is it worse to be underdressed or overdressed?
I'd have to say it depends on the event. Because sometimes we always say this, that we don't want to overdress the client, right? But if you're at a nice event and you're underdressed, everybody sees that. You see, so I don't go with that. You never want to overdress the client. I would rather be overdressed at a nice event. And so that way, when I'm there, maybe I overdress the client, but everybody else has a positive,
Absolutely.
Now, again, the other side is, if I'm at the beach, I don't want to overdress the client. I don't want to be the guy in the suit at the beach. So it just depends.
And that actually has happened. We've seen these horrible pictures of guys in suits at the beach and God knows whatever.
The hardest thing, I think, is when we have females in the detail and they ask. That's a challenge, because they're like, what do I wear?
Yeah, and there's actually a couple of comments I would love to make, right? Because when you're overdressed, it's easier to dress down than it is to dress up, right? And if you if you dress highly and go for the overdressing or dressing up, you can, as an EP agent, be very aware of what you wear, right? So you have like fancy clothes on that can dress down. That's easier than trying to be fancy with nothing. Sure. You can also assume that you don't magically get teleported there. There's nobody that stops you from bringing a bag where you have a nice shirt, maybe a pair of nicer shoes or whatever that you can leave in the car, right? So you can change when you get a chance for it, right? So I think that you have a lot of options, but it's also, again, a question about, like you said, figure out the events. Are you going into the events? Are you waiting outside? And it actually also ties into the thing that a lot of people forget, and that is that we dress to go out and meet the client and go to the event, right? But what about if you have to wait outside? Do you bring a jacket? Do you have a rain jacket with you? Whatever, right? I mean, you can do a whole course on how to plan your outfits and stuff like that, but it's so important. And I also feel, and I want to hear your opinion about this, you have all these guys that and gals that are so tactically good. I mean, they're all trained to survive the end of the world, and they're super comfortable in everything, right? But not being dressed right or not knowing what to wear can make anybody or a lot of EP agents uncomfortable. Do you agree about that?
Yes.
And insecure?
Yeah.
Yeah, insecurity.
Yeah. It's not something that's...
And we're bad at talking about it a lot of times because it's very personal.
Yeah. So,
right.